Hey, how's it going? In today's video, I'm making that chair and this one. And I probably needs a table too. And with the free plans I have in the description, it's basically that easy to build. Basically. I'll see you in the shop. We'll get started. So the free plans that I made, you can make the table and chairs completely out of dimensional lumber. So 2x4s, 1x10s. However, I've got this really nice pile of red cedar scrap wood from my dad's pergola. I've been waiting to build something out of it, and I think this is gonna be the perfect project for it. But if you don't have a planer, no worries. If you're listening to table saw or a circular saw, you can use dimensional lumber from the hardwood store.
So regardless if you're milling down your own lumber using scrap like I am here, or you're buying dimensional lumber from the hardware store or lumber yard, whichever place you get your lumber from, the legs, the aprons, and the stretchers for the chairs are going to be the exact same. They're all going to be 1.5 inches thick by 2 inches wide. The back legs are 31 inches tall, the front legs are 17 inches tall, the length of the front apron and stretchers are 11.5 inches, and the length of the side apron and stretchers are 11 inches. The table sits at about 22.75 of an inch tall, and I've got all the specific dimensions and everything you need if you want to build this yourself in the free plans that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So step one here, obviously I'm going to mill everything down and get it all to the dimensions I need it to be. Basically making my own 2x4 dimensional lumber out of this scrap wood and then going from there. I'm going to work on the back legs for the two chairs first before I go on to anything else.
So these are gonna actually be 2 inches, so it's gonna be 2 inches on the bottom, but then right in the middle it's gonna angle back to 2 inches on the top. So we're probably gonna use the bandsaw for that. You don't need to use a bandsaw, you can use a jigsaw if you don't have a bandsaw. But I didn't really want the legs to look this thick. I don't think this is definitely overkill for a chair. So I think 2 inches is gonna be plenty strong, but also give it more of a classy look. However, it's not gonna be so thin that when you sit on it, it's gonna break out and fall out from underneath you. Wouldn't want that to happen.
So I'm going to need to make a template out of some 1/2 inch plywood for these legs so that they're all consistent and the exact same. However, I did want to see how it looked first, so I'm making all of these marks on one of the leg pieces, basically just measuring up 17 inches and then using a straight edge to mark 2 inches up to that point, and then angling my straight edge and marking another 2-inch line all the way to the back side of the board. I did base all of these measurements off of a folding chair. I thought since these chairs are supposed to go on a porch and fit comfortably and be able to move around easy, I thought a folding chair was kind of, good dimensions to base it off of. So now, taking that 2x4 piece for the leg, I'm just marking out that exact shape on some scrap plywood, making those exact measurements and marks that I did on the leg. I'm going to rough it out over here on the bandsaw. You can use a jigsaw if you don't have one. And then using a sander, just creeping up on that pencil line, making sure that all my dimensions are correct and exactly how I want them to be, because this is the template that's going to be used to cut out all 4 legs. I did take my time making this template, made sure I didn't make any mistakes on it, because I am going to use this to make the rest of the legs. And can you imagine if I got to the end of the 4th leg and thought, wow, these don't look good at all? Actually, I can imagine that because I have done it before. Moral of the story, take your time, get your template exactly how you want it, and then you can move on. So now just taking the template, putting it on top of those leg pieces that I milled down. I'm going to use a pencil, make all the marks I need, use the table saw and the jigsaw or bandsaw to rough everything out. Once I get everything roughed out close to that line that I marked, I'm going to take the template, use some double-sided tape, stick it to the top of it. I'm going to use a flush trim bit on my trim router with a bearing on the top of it so we can reference that template. I'm going to go around all 4 of the legs and get them all identical. And then once I'm done with one side of it, I actually don't need the template anymore. I can just flip the board over, swap my bit out to a flush trim bit with a bearing on the bottom so it references the new straight side. And just like that, we've got 4 perfectly identical legs. Well, not perfect, nothing's perfect, but pretty dang close. As close as I can get.
Okay, we got the legs done. I think they turned out pretty good. Hopefully they're the right size. I guess we'll find out. That's part of the fun of woodworking, right? Is the mystery, to see if it works at the end. We're just gonna keep plugging along here. I did forget though, I'm not going to put the frame together quite yet. Similar to the swinging bench I made in a previous video. You can watch that up here if you want. I'm gonna mill down some back slats for the back of this seat here. A simpler way would be just to put some back slats directly on the back here. Obviously gonna be spaced out like this. And then you could glue, pre-drill, screw, however you want to fasten them to the back here. But I'd like to make it a little bit more decorative, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my 1/2 inch upcut spiral bit with my plunge base router and just hog out some holes here, get the back slats milled down, and start putting this thing together.
So measuring up 19.5 inches from the bottom of the leg, I started making my marks. I'm gonna set the slats in 1/2 inch from the front. There's gonna be 2 slats at 2 inches and 1 at 3 inches on the top, and they're all gonna be spaced apart 1.5 inches. It's very important to note here that when you're marking your boards to mark 2 on one side and then flip the other one so they're oriented the other way and make the marks on the other side. When making these mortises for these slats, they're gonna need to be on the opposite sides of each other for the angles to all line up.
I just want everybody to know that these YouTube videos probably make it look a lot faster than it actually is. So stay patient, take your time, make your marks well. Otherwise, you're gonna redo the whole thing later. Let's pull out the plunge base router, start making these mortises, and then we'll get to milling up some tenon back slat things. Are they tenons, or what would you call them? Tenons or back slats? Comment below what they'd be called. Are they tenons or back slats? Because they would act as tenons, because they're going into the mortises. If anybody knows more than me about this stuff, please comment below. I would love to learn.
Real quick, I want to thank the sponsor of this video. If you've seen me in the shop, you've probably seen this mask. It's the Basecamp dust mask, and honestly, I use it every single day. Whether I'm sanding, sweeping, or cleaning out my dust collection system, like I did just before filming this video, this thing keeps all of that junk out of my lungs. It's way more comfortable than those disposable masks I wore for years. It fits snug, doesn't fog up my glasses, and it has replaceable filters. This thing just makes sense. Don't take healthy lungs for granted. There are people who need you to be healthy. I'll drop a link below if you want to check it out. You can use code GWOOD10 to get a 10% discount at checkout. You'll also be supporting this channel, which I can't thank you enough for. Let's go ahead and get back to the build. So to make the mortises for the back slats, I'm basically setting my plunge base router to 3/4 of an inch depth, creeping up on both sides and making a full depth plunge basically all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to use my depth stop to then make small 1/8 to 1/4 inch passes until I reach the bottom full 3/4 of an inch depth. Hopefully that all made sense. But basically you don't want to bore out the entire mortise in one go. That's going to be way too much pressure on that bit. It's also going to be dangerous. It could cause some pretty serious kickback. So take small passes, utilize the depth stop on a plunge base router if that's what you're using, and just take it one at a time and take your time. Once I got all the mortises cut out and ready to go, I'm going to take this scrap 1x6 board and cut all my slats to the appropriate length. And since I used a 1/2 inch bit on the plunge base router, I'm going to need all of these slats to be right at a 1/2 inch so that they fit inside of those mortises. And since I'm making 2 chairs for this, I'm going to need a total of 6 slats, 4 2-inch slats, and 2 3-inch slats. Up next, we have all the back slats. I did cut a couple extra. They're a little big. I'd rather err on the side of them being a little bit too big than not. I can always, sand it down slightly just to get it to fit. Since these are 1/2 inch thick or thereabouts, I'm taking a 1/4 inch round over bit. I'm going to go over all of these to then make basically an oval shape so that they fit inside of these mortises. Let's go ahead, round these over, keep removing. And keep removing we did. It would be a little bit easier and safer to use a router table instead of this trim router here when doing these roundovers, but I'm working with what I got right now. And after I got them all rounded over, it's important to do a dry fit here to make sure they all work. Ooh, yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me. I get a little excited when things fit together really well like this. Sometimes it's a little bit of raised wood on the top and bottom after rounding these edges over. So I just like to take a chisel, smooth it out. I'll go over it with a sander later as well. All right, we've got these done now, so we're just gonna move right on into the frame. Everything should speed up. Not that speed is the key here, but everything should speed up a lot faster now. Obviously getting these back legs cut, getting the mortises made, getting these tenons or back slats, whatever you call them, thinned out, put in. That all takes a little bit of time, but honestly, it's very enjoyable work for me, so I don't mind it at all. Take your time if you're gonna do it this way. Have fun with it. It's very relaxing. We're gonna use a mix of pocket holes, some outside screws, and some plugs. Let's keep going. So all the rest of the aprons, stretchers, legs for the table and the chairs are all gonna be at that 1.5 inches thick by 2 inches wide. So you're gonna need to rip all of your 2x4s or your 1.5 inch thick wood of any kind down to that 2 inch width. After I get all of my stock cut and ready to go, I'm gonna take 150 grit sandpaper and pre-sand everything. It's gonna make it so much easier later when I'm finishing to not have to sand after it's already been assembled. I'm gonna start putting these together by pre-drilling on the back of the legs and then using a Forstner bit, 3/8 inch Forstner bit, to then make some holes that I can fill in with plugs later. The reason why I'm not using pocket holes in the back is because pocket holes aren't necessarily the strongest joint, and I never want there to be any doubt in my mind that the chairs aren't going to fall apart. And after inspecting a lot of chairs over the years and finding the ones that have been the strongest in my opinion, using 3-inch deck screws in the back where there's going to be the most amount of weight and pressure, and then using pocket holes around the rest of it has worked really well for me in the past. So that's how I'm going to go ahead and build out these chairs. For the pocket holes, I'm just using the basic Craig jig here, setting the depth to 1.5 inches, since all the wood I'm working with is 1.5 inches. Then I'm just going to work my way around the chair using those 11-inch stretcher and side aprons and the 11.5-inch stretcher and front aprons for the tops and bottoms. For that back apron that goes against those back legs, it worked on one side, but on the other, one of the screws actually ran into one of those 3-inch deck screws that I put in from the back that I'm going to fill with plugs. So on the second chair, you'll see that I only have one pocket screw on the very back apron. This is plenty strong, and I highly recommend doing this so that you don't end up, running that 2.5-inch pocket hole screw into that 3-inch deck screw that you screw in from the back. Once I got both sides of the chair assembled, I put glue inside of those mortises for the back slats on both sides of it, added glue to the other joints, and then put it together. And since you are going to have to work in some tight angles, picking up one of these right angle drill attachments is super important. Without that attachment, I wouldn't have been able to get that correct angle to get those 2.5-inch screws into the pocket holes. Sometimes working with this soft wood with pocket holes can be a little difficult. As you see here, I just split the wood. That's actually because there's a knot on the other side of this piece of wood that I did not see or think about when I was milling this down to the right size. Get it? I did not see the knot when I was milling it down. Okay, never mind. Since this is just gonna be for me and my family, I decided not to take it out and do a whole nother mill up. So we're leaving it in there. I will show you how I fixed this nasty crack in the wood in a little bit. After we got the first one assembled, I wanted to sit on it to see how sturdy it was. And of course, everybody else had to try it too. It passed inspection, but everybody else agreed it definitely needed a seat, was not very comfortable. So after knocking out the other chair real quick, I'll skip that part since this is a YouTube video. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the table together real quick, just using the exact same method. And something I should point out, on the chairs, I did only use a single pocket hole on all the bottoms of those stretchers. So the stretchers are the support pieces that are just a few inches up from the ground. This will hide all of the screws. I'm doing the exact same thing for the little table that goes along with the set. Might have to do a little bit of bit swapping. I'm using a mix between a 2-inch bit and a 6-inch bit. 2-inch bit helps you just get the screw started in these tighter spots. 6-inch though is long enough to get the correct angle to finish screwing it in. Start that one. Start this one on this side. Swap out from the 2-inch to the 6-inch. And once I've got both chairs and the table all framed out, it was time to get the slats ready to go. So all you need to do is actually just get a 1x6 board. Dimensional lumber you get at whatever lumber store you go to normally. And these will work just fine for your seat slats and your table slats. Since I don't have any and I'm trying to use all the scrap wood up, I'm resawing some boards real quick on the table saw, halfway up on both sides. Then I'm just using a handsaw to finish cutting that little strip. This is a little bit safer doing it this way. These slats are right at about 5/8 of an inch, but 5/8, 3/4, either one's gonna work just fine. To attach these slats to the chair, you can just use a 2.5-inch deck screw, pre-drill through the bottom apron. Just make sure that you're not gonna go too far and it starts to poke out the top of the slat. Or you can do this method that I'm doing. I'm just cutting some scrap wood up, attaching it to the inside of those aprons. Then I can just run some 1.25-inch deck screws through that scrap piece that I attached to the apron, and that's how I'm gonna secure these. Now you might be wondering why I'm peeling this wood off here that I've already attached. Well, my wife walked out and didn't like how the slats looked, and I had to agree with her, so I'm gonna take these off and try again. We're gonna rip these down the middle, so they're gonna be about right at 2 3/4 of an inch. Gonna throw a 1/4-inch round over on them, and try this thing again. I'm positioning this out the front about 3/4 of an inch and 1/4 inch on both sides. These are 15-inch slats, just for the record. Then I'm running up some 2.5-inch deck screws through the bottom of the apron after pre-drilling with a countersink bit. And to space these out equally, the best gap I could find was actually the size of the end of this Allen wrench. So just using an Allen wrench, put some glue on it, clamp them down, throw some 1.25-inch screws up through the bottom, and we're good to go. And just work my way down the chair. And then when we got to the back, I knew that I was going to have to use a bandsaw or a jigsaw on the back 2 slats to get them to fit between those back legs. So depending on the gap size that you choose for your chairs, just make the marks with your pencil, take your time, make sure everything lines up, then just cut out the necessary gaps. For the very back seat slat, I ripped down that 2 3/4-inch slat into a 1.5-inch slat, and then used the 1/4-inch roundover again, cut it down to the correct length, and attach that in between those 2 legs right there in the back. For the table, all I did was position those outside slats about 1/4 of an inch past the leg, and then just use glue and screws, just like the chairs, and evenly space the remaining 2 slats in between those outside slats. And would you look at that? I love it when a plan comes together. And next up, you may not be excited about it, but it is one of the most important steps to making some furniture look nice, and that is, you guessed it, sanding. But first, I want to show you how I fixed this crack that, you saw me make earlier. You know when you're a kid and you cut your knee or your elbow and you run and tell your dad and he says, rub some dirt in it. I think the correct term would have been rub some sawdust in it, because that's exactly what I did here. All you got to do, throw some Titebond 3 wood glue in there, rub some sawdust from the same wood that you used earlier, let it dry, sand it down. It's like it wasn't even there. So maybe the correct saying should be rub some sawdust in it instead of rub some dirt in it. I don't know. Something to think about. But now we have to address those holes in the back of the chairs that we used to put those 3-inch deck screws in. So I'm just using this plug cutter with my drill and then going over to the bandsaw, cutting them out. You could also just use a plug cutter and a screwdriver to pop them out. You don't need to use the bandsaw here. I do like to say that you don't need to use these bigger tools that I have, because a lot of people will use that as an excuse to not build. And I gotta say, I didn't have these big tools for quite a few years. So just get started, use what you got. But anyways, you're just gonna take those plugs, put some wood glue in there, pop them in the holes, use a little rubber mallet there to tap them in, let them dry a little bit. I'd throw some sawdust around it. If there's any glue, squeeze out just to cover any more gaps. Just use a flush cut saw and a chisel to get them as close down to the wood as you can. And then we're just gonna go over them with 150 grit sandpaper, and you are good to go. Speaking of sandpaper, I will say that I used 150 grit on the entirety of the chair once it was completely assembled, and I just softened any of those edges around the seat. This just made the whole thing blend together better with the seat slats, since they had the 1/4-inch roundover on it, as well as the top of those rear legs, since I did have a pretty good curve on them. I did the same thing with the little table. I feel kind of bad for this table. It's kind of been an afterthought in this entire video, but it's so simple. Just the same thing you do with the chairs, do to the table. I will say though, I like to add a chamfer on the bottom of all of the legs of the chairs and the table. That's because when they get pulled along, say rougher cement, this really helps from the wood chipping away, especially if someone's sitting on it and they scoot with the chair. Adding a decent chamfer on the bottom can really help mitigate that wood from tearing out on the bottom of the legs. To finish these, I'm just gonna wipe it down with a clean rag to get all that sawdust off it. And I'm just using this outdoor spar urethane. I've had pretty decent luck with this. It's pretty tough stuff. So I'm coating everything on this set. Underside, top side, even the very bottom where the chairs are gonna touch the ground. I want these to last a long time. So I'm gonna do a few coats. Follow the directions on the can. You're gonna do a little light sanding in between the coats, and then you'll be good to go.
Well guys, we did it. Well done. The perfect little chair table set for the front porch, garden, put it wherever you want. It's gonna look great. It looks great. I'm just gonna sit here for a little bit. You guys know where to find the free plans. You guys know how to follow me. I don't need to tell you guys all that stuff. You're smart. Probably gonna think about my next build for a little bit. I'll see you guys in the next video.